I'm always fielding the same questions from new students, specifically, how do I get better? And no one likes to hear the short and very honest answer. Keep training diligently and consistently for years and years. But if you want the long version, here you go. Most of these comments could apply to other sports and fields of study as well. Number 1. Go to class. Another question I'm often asked is, how often should I come to class? As often as you can. The more time you spend doing something, the better you'll get at it. Number 2. No junk training. I always hear untalented, unathletic martial artists talk about how many years or decades they've been practicing their art, and yet they still lack the ability to fight their way out of a wet paper bag. Logging honest time on the mat against live resisting training partners always trumps milling about inside a martial arts themed building with a costume on. Always. Number 3. Tap early. Tap often. This should never be confused with being lazy and not giving 100% effort. So many beginners seem to think that they need to tough it out through every submission tooth and nail like it's a title fight, to their very last breath until their elbows pop, their rotator cuffs tear, their knees explode, and they pass out twitching on the floor. You don't need that kind of wear and tear on your joints. Tapping out in the gym is the sound of learning, not losing. Let go of the pride. Tap out when you've been caught, when it's safe to do so before you have to verbally tap out with blood-curdling screams, followed by losing valuable training time to recover. Number 4. Find training partners you can crush. Most people I see tend to gravitate toward a clique of training partners that they feel comfortable with, which is going to be a crutch in the long term. That's why I ask my students to switch partners often while training. One of the most common complaints comes from smaller, less experienced students who find themselves getting consistently squashed by the bigger, more experienced students. How do I beat the bigger, stronger, better guys? You don't. Not till you get stronger and better yourself. And that usually takes a long, long time. So you'd think it would be a no-brainer for these students to pair up with other smaller, less experienced students. In all fairness, this isn't always an option, because someone has to be the smallest and/or newest in the room. But even then, it can be quite difficult to get people to step outside of their comfort zone socially and personally, and to walk up to the new kid, shake his hand, then practice twisting him into a pretzel. Number 5. Find partners who are your equal. At the beginner level, this should be easy. But beginners tend to overcomplicate everything. You need to test yourself against someone who knows everything you know, who can do everything you can do, but doesn't hold any significant advantages. Number 6. Find partners that can crush you. Most people are intimidated by this prospect. A big part of the problem is simple pride. Let go of the selfish ego. Get your tapping hand ready and take notes on how it's done. Number 7. Find your niche. Basically, find what you are good at, learn everything about it, and develop a game plan around it. You don't have to master everything to win fights. There's not enough time to do that. You need a solid Plan A and a complementary Plan B. Number 8. Become an athlete. Martial arts is the only sport I can think of where the practitioners buy into the self-comforting lie that strength and athleticism don't matter. They do matter a great deal. How you eat, sleep, move, breathe, and think each day of each passing year will determine your athleticism. All of those are equally important. If you are lacking discipline in any of those areas, the rest of your development will suffer. Number 9. Do your homework. I can always tell who is consistently shadowboxing at home when I spar with them. I can tell who works on their flexibility outside of class. I can see immediately who spends time under the barbell. I can feel in no uncertain terms who has and who has not invested a few extra minutes each day outside of the gym doing some kind of movement that brings them closer to their goals. Not hours, minutes. Not once in a while, daily. Spending just a few minutes of your free time outside of class working toward a goal will get you there much, much faster than trying to cram in huge chunks of training once in a while. Number 10. Tell everyone about what you do. Tell everyone about MMA. Tell everyone about jiu-jitsu. Tell everyone about martial arts. If you really want to make number 5, number 6, and number 7 work, you need to do this. I invest as much time as I can advertising my classes because it's my job. If I didn't, the class numbers would eventually dwindle into nothingness. However, the only way to get better at fighting is to train with more people. If you don't tell people about it, they aren't going to come. Tell your friends and coworkers to come try it out. You will get better in the long run because they are there. I love the Russian and Ukrainian students I've had in the gym over the years for 2 main reasons. Number 1, they tend to be tough dudes who are great to train with. And number 2, they always bring their friends. And if you don't have any friends, go make some right now. Talk to people about training until you find other people who are just as excited about the same thing. It's a win-win. Number 11, ask questions. This sounds like something self-evident, but a lot of people are afraid to admit they don't know something, or they feel self-conscious or embarrassed asking for help. Maybe the coach has already explained something 3 times, but you still don't get it, and you feel like it's imposing to ask for more help. Don't. Open your mouth and ask. If you don't ask the questions, you will never find the answers. If you don't have questions, it means you're doing junk training and aren't paying attention. Otherwise, you would be running into problems and be able to identify what they are. If you can't tell why a move isn't working, keep trying until you figure out what your opponent keeps doing, or ask your opponent what he's doing. Ask him. A lot of students assume that if they failed to execute a technique against a resisting opponent, it was merely because they themselves did something wrong. Well, guess what? There's a whole other person in that equation who is intelligently fighting back to prevent you from imposing your will. If your technique isn't working, it's often because the other guy is doing something right. Pay attention to what successful people are doing right and ask questions about it instead of beating yourself over the head about perceived failures. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.